Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Shanna. Now, today we're doing something a little bit different. I am going to take an attempt at my first junk journal. And I picked up this kit from our friend Vicky at VJ Designs US. She has an Etsy shop. Anyway, she's also got a YouTube channel. She hangs out in our crafty circle. And she had this kit, and I watched her video on it. She was going through the kit, and I picked it up from her Etsy shop. So I don't know if you can really call it a junk journal because I got the kit from her, and it's full of lots of pretties, but she had designed this for a junk journal, and I have had it since September is when I purchased it from her, and I looked at it and all of the pretties and everything and kind of messed around with it a little bit. I took some purple papers to add for like some signatures, and then I was just intimidated. I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I put it aside and I didn't mess with it. I'm just showing you all the pieces that are in here, just all kinds of fun stuff. She really has an eye for putting it together. Here's a little bookmark. Just all kinds of bits and pieces. There's napkins, and there's charms, and there's wax seals, and some embellishments in here, and these little patches that say inspire, blessed, love, just all kinds of fun stuff. Just super, super fun. And I watched a video from a gal. Her name was Nicole. I think it was Nicole Relax Cut and Glue. And she took a simple box and made the cover for a junk journal. And so I thought, well, I can do that. So I've got this sea salt, this pita cracker sea salt box that we probably picked up at Aldi's for the crackers. And I'm just going to tear it down and kind of do like Nicole did and create my cover. So I'm going to bring in my metal spatula from Spellbinders and just put in there and just kind of separate the glue from it. And then we're going to cut it down and create a cover with it. And so I'm going to kind of speed up the cutting apart of this box. I didn't really have, the necessary tools for this because I generally don't do this. I tried my T-square, wasn't long enough, and I was like, what am I going to use? So I brought in my large scoreboard, and I'm going to lay it kind of on the edge there, and then I'm going to bring in my Cricut knife and attempt to cut it, and then I'm going to realize that the blade is pretty dull, and I'm going to go ahead and change it and try to figure out how to change it. It'd been a minute since I did it, so it took me a minute to figure out how to do it. And then once I got it changed, it cut beautifully. It was way better. Oh my gosh, you need to change that more often. And so I'm just using that scoreboard, trying to line it up and get as straight of a line as I can. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever done this, so I realized I don't have all the necessary things that you need. I need like a long metal ruler that I can lay across here, but I don't have those things, so I just worked with what I had. And so we've got this kind of cut down to where it could be the cover for our junk journal. It is too wide for what I'm going to use, and fortunately that video that I watched with that gal, hers was too wide too, and basically I'm just going to cut this down the middle and then overlap them like she did. I'm kind of counting my, 1/8 of an inch or whatever that is, and then I'm just going to figure out how to line it up and just cut it. So again, using my scoreboard, and I'm just going to line it up. I'm going to try and use the lines on that. That is a Cricut mat. It's a self-healing cutting mat that I've got underneath there that I'm using. And so I'm using the lines on it and then the scoreboard, trying to straighten it up, get it laid down on there. And then we're just going to cut it right down the middle, and then we'll overlap those, and that will make it a more narrow of a journal. And man, what a difference it makes when you get a new blade in there. So we've got these two edges. We're going to glue these two edges together, much like the gal did in the video. And this will create our binder. So if you're looking at this channel for a tutorial on how to do this, this is not the channel. This is the first attempt at something I've never done before. I just thought I wanted to do something different. I've been very sick, and I thought, I'm going to get this out and play with it, and I can just sit there and just kind of mess around and not, just kind of do my own thing. I have got the flu, and I have been home several days now, it seems like, with it, and just trying to get over it. So these voiceovers are probably pretty rough, and I apologize for that. I'm sure several of my videos recently have been not my normal voice. So anyway, so we've got our pita box and our sea salt cracker pita box, and I think we've got a pretty good start on it. And I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I'm just measuring how wide my covers are so that I can figure out what I'm doing with my pieces. Now, there are several things that Vicki included in the kit. We've got these beautiful papers, and I think she printed these herself, I think. She said she discovered an AI program that she can turn her photos into watercolors and other formats. She's pretty happy with. And she did some of that to coordinate the kit. And so I don't know if these are, but these are gorgeous. And I'm just looking at them, trying to decide which ones I want to pair for the outside cover. And I'm going to realize that I need to consider the direction on them. And so I'm going to choose them based upon that. And I'm going to go with these two here, I think, that I have on top. And then we'll save the others for inside the journal. And so I'm just going to use these beautiful florals for the outside of it, and we're going to create some covers. And I'm just kind of anticipating how I want to do it. There's a little white strip of paper there where it didn't print. And so I want to cut that off, and I use this, and this is a mistake. I snag it, and I realize I need to bring in my guillotine because it's the paper's pretty thin, and the blade is not very sharp. And so I'm just going to bring in the guillotine. I thought the guillotine was too small for it, but it's going to work just fine. And so I'm just going to get a crisp edge on that. And then there's a white edge on the other side that I'm going to take off as well. And we're going to use this for our cover. Actually, I'm able to flip this over and line up my box, and then we'll trim around it. So I'm just going to get my box laid down on there and just trim around. I should have gone in the other direction, and I would have had a little bit more. But I think it was because I was using the directional pattern that I laid it like this. So I probably don't even have the right glue. This is just the Barely Art glue. I've seen a lot of people use like the stick glue. I think that would be a lot more cost effective than this Barely Art glue. And I struggled with my glue bottles trying to get, I've cut 3 of them, and I was having a hard time getting them to put the glue out. But anyway, I'm going to get this laid down on there, and this is going to be our cover. We're going to cover up the sea salt crackers, and I'm just using my brayer to get it to lay smooth. And then I'm just going to bring in that knife and just cut around there and try to get right along the edge of the box and trim it off. This was fun. I had no idea what I was doing. I just kept kind of winging it. But it was definitely something that you can do simply and easily without a lot of thought. Isn't that pretty? So I'm going to use the brayer and make sure I got it, spread the glue out. And then I could use a strip of that for that. I'm going to bring in the other paper, and we're going to do the other side of it. And we'll get it laid down on there much like we did the other. I'm going to flip it over so that I don't have that. Actually, I'm going to take that little bit of white off of there like I did the other one. We won't have that little white strip on there. And then I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to do the same thing here. So we'll just get the glue added. And I'm shaking it, trying to get it to come out. I've got to get some more glue. I use a lot of glue and a lot of cardstock on my channel, and so here I'm trying another bottle. I had them all 3 primed, trying to get them ready to go, and I'll just switch between the 3 of them. But I've got to get some ordered. And I'm putting the pin back in each time, so hopefully they won't clog up and I'll be able to use it. This is kind of a longer video. I've been doing kind of shorter ones, but I put the covers on, and I thought, well, I'll stop and we'll go from there. And then I decided to embellish the covers as part of this video. This is going to be like part one because, you know, I'm going to go in and do the inside of the journal as I go too. But I didn't want to make it any longer than it has to. I might speed things up a little bit more just to kind of shorten the video a little bit. But we're going to get these laid down on here. And we'll have a really pretty outside cover to our journal. Isn't that lovely? I think they're beautiful. So I'm just going to bring a strip in for that and cover it. I'm going to use this because I think this is really pretty. And so I'm just going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to get the glue on here, and then I decide to cut it down, I think, and then lay it on there is what I wind up doing. Putting that back in there. I have a bad habit of not doing that. I first think I'm going to do it this way, and then I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to be able to cut it right. I'm thinking, yeah, this isn't going to work for me. I realized that I had the white edge down there, and I wanted to move it over. And then I decided, I think it'd be easier to just cut it. Evidently not. I thought I did, but evidently I just went with it. I've been taking a lot of cold medicine stuff. I did go to the doctor, and I do have the flu. And so anyway, you just have to treat the symptoms. I got in too late to get, you know, like the antiviral for it. But anywho, so I got to let it run its course, and it stinks. So I hope none of you get it. It's terrible. I know T from Not Afraid of Color, she's got it. I was watching her do some teeny tiny signature little miniature journals. They were just teeny tiny. I watched her do it the other day, and she was having a coughing fit, and I completely get it because I have been just on the struggle bus. So anyway, I've been home just basically not doing anything, but we are dog sitting because my daughter went on her spring break trip, and so at least I've had the dog here to kind of keep me company. Pat's, you know, he does track, and this is his busy season. He does track and field officiating. And so, which is good because he's not around while I'm coughing and hacking and full of germs. So he's out doing his thing, and I'm trying to get to where I can at least function again. Anyway, so we're going to get this laid down on, and I'm just using these on the inside as well because I just think they're super pretty. And just getting them all covered. Now, when I go to add the signatures, I'll speed that up. I didn't do the sewing method, and I was kind of, I wasn't completely happy with just tying it around. I think next time I try it, I will do where you sew the signatures in and do it that way. I think I'm kind of getting into the cardboard box here, so I'm trying to do a better job with it. So we'll get that edge cleaned up, and then we'll be good to go to move on to the next part. I think the next part's where I just take this strip and I cut it down and tuck it in. I was thinking of that on the outside spine, but I measured it, figured out what it was, and then we're just going to use the guillotine and cut it down, and we'll add that strip to it. And it was the right size because I had cut the outside cover from that, so when I cut it down, it was the right length, and then I just needed the right width, so I'm just going to trim it down and get it where I want it to be. I cut that little wide edge off, and then we're going to cut to size with this here. And then we'll just get it laid down on the inside spine. And as I did this, I was like, wasn't sure if I should have done that, because at that point I wasn't sure if I was going to sew or if I was going to just tie them in. And I went ahead and laid it down, and I will just go ahead and just tie them, the signatures on the inside of it. And that's how we'll do it. So I am kind of pausing throughout to kind of cough up my lungs, and So if it seems a little choppy, that's why, because I am having to pause. Anyway, I think it's a really pretty cover. I will add some embellishments to it, and then I'm not sure about that. But so I'm looking at this paper and trying to decide what I want to add, and then looking at this, and this is really pretty. It's just gorgeous. Again, looking at my measurement, because I've got medicine brain fog, and so I had measured it once already, but had already forgotten what it was, so I measured it again. And then we'll get it cut down. Fortunately, the weather has been just splendid, and we've had warmth and sun, and so I can at least sit in a chair outside and get some vitamin C and enjoy that. So that has been a blessing that the weather has been nice. So I could sit in a little chair in a sunny spot and just rest. So that's been nice. And today it's supposed to be warm, not as warm as yesterday, but it looks like we might get a little bit of sunshine, so I might get to do it again today. So we'll get this trimmed up. I'm going to run the brayer over it again. We're going to get it trimmed up, and we've basically got our inside cover and our outside covers done. And then we're going to move on to the signature pieces, which Vicki included a lot of things in there for that. We're going to kind of go through those. Now, for the signatures, I kind of sped through this because I'm basically just shuffling paper. But she had these really pretty, I don't know, tea-stained or whatever papers, and then grid papers and journal papers and all kinds of things. There's coloring pages, textured papers. We got more of these floral things, and she put some blue papers in there that were folded. And I'm just going to cut these down, and we're just going to create some signatures with all of these. And I think I wind up with 10 pages in each signature, so that I'll have 40 pages within the journal. And I just cut the white spots off of these so that I can add them and fold them. And we've got all different sizes of papers, and they're actually bigger than my cover. And so I will wind up having to cut them all down. And I kind of do a terrible job at it, but I'll get them cut down. And I'm basically creating 2 signatures with all of this fun stuff. And I'm kind of rotating, just putting different things between so that it'll be more interesting as you flip through it. And so I'm just going to add I'm just pulling out the things that were in the box and adding them to it. And then I had some purple pages that I had when I first sat down with it. These are like journal sheets that she included in there. And when I first opened the kit, I thought I was going to mess with it. I brought in some purple papers. They're laying off to the left there. And I'm going to add them to it just to have some additional color and some additional pages in there. And so we're just going to layer those in, and I'm just going to bring them in and add them. And these are going to be our signatures, and we're going to have a wide variety of things. Now, I'm not going to work with any of these on this video. That'll be part 2, where we kind of go in and embellish things. And you can see they're too big for it, and so I'm going to need to cut them all down. And I will go off camera and just cut them down to where they will fit inside of the journal. And so here we go. We've got them all ready to go. And this is where I'm going to try and figure out how I'm going to connect them with the journal binder. And so I'm just going to make sure they fit inside there nicely. And it looks pretty good. I've got some twine here. This is pink and white. And I thought, well, this is my first go. I'm not sure I'm ready to sew. So I'm just going to take 2 strips of this baker's twine and go through the center of them and just loop them through twice and just tie them in a knot. This is probably not the best way to do it. And I noticed they moved around a little bit until I kind of figured out how to position them. But anyway, I basically looped it around there twice, and then I just tied a knot. I'm going to bring in my tweezers. This is really awkward because I need some more hands. And I'm fiddling around with it, and I'm going to tweeze it, and then we'll tie it in a knot. And that's how I'm going to connect these. I know this is a manner. I'm not even sure I did it right. I think I'm supposed to wrap around the strings to kind of hold them together. And I got it a little tight, but I'm moving it to where I want one to be kind of on one side and one to be on the other. And this is just how I did it. I don't know what I'm doing, and so I'm winging it. And so then we're going to add our other one, and I'm going to wrap it around there twice as well. And we're going to kind of tie it off in the same spot that we tied it off before. And then you're going to have these strings on the outside. And I'm going to trim them down so that we don't have the danglies. I think I'll probably figure out a way to adorn this. Maybe, unless I decide I want to add a third signature to it. I don't think so, though. When I hold it up, I think it looks pretty good. And then if we get a bunch of things inside of it, it'll get fuller. So I'm just trimming this down and going to get them positioned how I want them, kind of even. And then I think it looks pretty good from, looking at it from overhead. I think it's going to work. And this is where I thought I would stop for the night. And I actually did. And then I came back in the next morning and I thought, do you just want to see me, kind of doing the cover? And so I thought, well, let's go ahead and do the cover. And so I'm grabbing some of the bits and pieces. There were some wider strips of ribbon, and I thought this would be pretty. And I got the idea to kind of put it on the left side. And there's a cross charm that I want to add. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to add it. I thought I was going to use the thin pink strip to add the charm, but then I thought, how do I want to get it to lay down on here? And so I thought, well, I'll bring this wider strip in and lay it down, and it'll embellish it. I've got the wrong scissors here. These are the Tim Holtz. You don't use these with sticky stuff. And it had a little coffee stain on the ribbon. I just cut it away. And then we've got this pink ribbon, and I thought I could thread my cross through here and add my charm to it. And it is morning, and we've got the sunlight on the desk, so the lighting probably appears different from when I did the journal in the evening. And I'm just going to thread it through there, and I'm going to realize that I've got it in the wrong direction, so we'll unthread it and thread it again, because I want my cross to lay in a certain direction on my journal. And this is where I realized I want it to hang. And I could have just turned how I was using the ribbon, but instead I unthreaded it and threaded it again. So I'm adding a knot so that I can just hold that. I probably needed 2 knots because it could move up and down, but I'm just going to have that knot so it doesn't slide off there. And I'm just going to layer this on top of the other. And I'm using my tape runner for this. I don't know if that's the best thing to do. I think I bring in some glue too, but we're just going to position this and get my cross laid down how I want it to. You can see I'm just fiddling with it. And then we're going to add this to the center of the other ribbon. I think it's pretty. Vicki had some really pretty things. There's lots of fun stuff in here to work with, and it's going to be fun to add all these things. She's got some clusters and some index cards and just bits and pieces. There's butterflies and just all kinds of fun things that I'm going to be able to add to this journal. And I'm going to try to collect some memories in this, things that I'm doing along the way, and to just remind myself of kind of the year. I realize I'm getting this started kind of the end of first quarter, but I thought it'd be fun. Now, she had this floral embellishment here that she had created out of paper, and I'm going to use it on the outside of it and kind of cover up where my laces come together. And I think it's pretty. I think it makes a nice little addition to it. And we've got our cross there, and it's positioned nicely. Now, I could have stopped just there, but I'd seen some other things that I thought might be interesting, and this lace was one of them. And I thought, I think that'd look nice in that corner where there's a lot of green, to just lay that down in there. So I'm going to add this little strip of lace and put it down there. And I probably could have stopped at what I had and just left it simple, but I don't think junk journaling is simple. I think it's more about layers and adding stuff. And so that's what I'm doing here. And I think I'll probably come back and maybe add some more even after this video for it. So I'm just going to lay this down in the corner. It seems to have a corner edge, and so I thought we'll just lay this down on the outside corner edge and give it a good press. I added some glue and some tape, and we've got our little cross on there. And then Vicki included some gems, some embellishments in here, and they're rounded dome. They've got a flat back on them, and they're the perfect color. She coordinated everything nicely. And so I'm going to grab these and put them in the centers of these flowers here, and it'll add just a little bit of extra interest to it. And so I'm going to try and get it turned around to where I can pick it up on the right side, and then we'll get it stuck down in there. There we go. And we've got a little bit more texture on our cover. And then she had these little patches in here that I really like too, and I felt like I wanted to use Inspire on this I know I'm clustering a lot down there, but I want to keep the floral to where you can see the floral. So I'm going to use the tape runner and the glue and get this little patch laid down on there. And this is going to be the outside front of our journal as it is. I'm sure I'll add more to it as we go along, but this is where I'm going to leave it for today's video. And we've got a little Inspire journal, and this is my first dabbling into junk journal. So I hope you don't mind me, because I think I'm going to maybe one day a week play around with this. We'll see. Vicki also included a bookmark, so I thought I would just stick it in there for now, and we could have it poking out of the top of it. So that is my first dabbling at a junk journal. So I hope you like it. If you do, hit the like, and if you would, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you. Thanks for watching.